Hey, it's James, and in this video, I'm going to be doing another lightning round oracle card pull for every zodiac sign for Aries season. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in and joining me for this video. If this is your first time here, I'd like to say welcome. And if you're returning, I'd like to say welcome back. As I said in the opener, I'm going to be doing another lightning round oracle card reading for Aries season. I did one for Pisces season in my last video because it was my birthday and I had so much fun, which a number of people noted in the comments and said to me offline. So much fun that I thought I would do it and probably make it an ongoing tradition for every sign going forward, or every zodiac sign season going forward. So it's now Monday morning as I'm filming this, so we have a few things going on this week. We have the astrological new year because the sun is moving from Pisces into Aries. We also have a new moon in Aries, which is very exciting. And it's also Ostara. So I figured with those three things taking place, this is a wonderful time to do another lightning round oracle card reading for every sign. So the deck that I'm going to be using is the one I used in my last lightning round oracle card reading, and that is my latest creation, which is fitting for Ostara, right? We're talking about moving into spring, new things being created, new life, all those kinds of things. And so this is my newest oracle card deck creation, right? Something I've given life to, right? So we are working with the Re-Language Affirmation Oracle, a deck that I created for this new year, and I just love it. So we're going to be working with that. So I have the deck right here on the table. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle the cards. And just as I did in the previous lightning round reading, I'm going to just pull a card off the top of the deck, one for each sign consecutively. So I'm just taking a moment to shuffle and focus on the intention. So I guess there are two questions that are running through my mind as I'm shuffling. So one could be for, the idea of the astrological new year. So, we could ask the question, and I'm saying we because this is a collective we, right? I'm not imposing. That we could consider what intention would best serve me for this new astrological year. Or it could be a similar variation and just asking for the season, right? What intention would best serve and support me as I move through this new season in my life, or this new astrological year. All right. So I think I shuffled the cards enough while I stated what the possible intentions are. You could pick the one that resonates with you the most. Now what I'm doing, and you might not be able to see this, but I'm cutting the cards. And now I have the deck reassembled. I'm going to go ahead and start. And we're just going to do all 12 signs. So starting with Aries, because it is Aries season. So for Aries, the card is, my pathway is now smooth. I like this card because it talks about when we're thinking about progress, right? This could be talking about your progression, your advancement, moving forward, right? What have you felt that you've made progress in, right? This is talking about coming a long way, right? So I will say this card is like two cards from two different systems that I've worked with in the past. I've worked with Lenormand. Enough of you might know that. So for me, this card is like crossroads. In Lenormand, crossroads represents, being at a certain point in life, a crossroads, fork in the road, and you're making a decision about what is the best course for me going forward, right? And that could be the best course of action, or the best course, meaning just the road, the path, the avenue, right? All those road metaphors are coming in here, right? So it could just be a matter of what is the best course for you going forward. But it's this idea about taking a look at what you've done or accomplished in terms of progress. You've come a long way, right? It could also be about what are you anticipating or expecting down the road, right? This is something that could be down the road, right? So we're talking about intentions, right? So this is a perfect time to consider what are the intentions and then what is the road or the path that's going to best lead you towards the goal that's at the end of that intention, right? If you go with this as a straight line or a linear thing, right? The intention's on one side or on one end of the road, and then the goal is on the other end, and this is the path to get you from the intention to the goal, right? But again, this could just be a matter of also too anticipating what's coming up down the line. Now, the other card I mentioned, because I mentioned Lenormand, is Kipper, right? So Kipper, in the Kipper card system, there's a card called A Long Journey or A Long Way. So it just talks about, again, something down the road, something down the way, or you've come a long way, right? And it's also about having patience, right? That's another aspect of the card. So it could just be a matter of no matter where you are on your path, this may be a time for, especially if you're setting new intentions, to be patient with the process, right? So again, that is what I see for my pathway is now smooth. Now, I left out a part. So if you are a magical practitioner, because I talked about Ostara, right? So I don't want to leave my magical brothers and sisters out. If you're working in a magical practice, this card for me represents doing road opener work, right? So this is about removing blocks, limitations, restrictions that you believe are on your path or that could be blocking your path with manifesting a particular result or a goal, right? Or achieving a goal, right? So it could just be what kind of road opener work would you need to do in order to remove those blocks and remove those limitations and restrictions, right? So that is, my pathway is now smooth. So that is Aries. Okay, Taurus, we have I am true to myself. Okay, so for me, this card is about taking a look at your sense of self, the image. This is about taking a look at yourself and saying, what image do I want to project out in my world at this time? How do I see myself, right? I'm reminded of the fact that Taurus is the sign that's associated with beauty because it's linked to the planet Venus, right? And so this may just be a matter of acknowledging your, maybe not necessarily external beauty, but your internal beauty, right? It could also be about the idea of considering doing what we call mirror work, right? As I said in a previous video, because I believe this card turned up in a previous video, this is a nod to Louise Hay and the process that she created that we call mirror work, right? So it's about standing in front of the mirror and looking at yourself and saying these 3 words, I love you. And then see what comes up in terms of thoughts or feelings, right? And then if there are challenging thoughts and feelings, how can you work with those? Because that might be internal work that you might need to do in order to move to a greater place of self-acceptance, right? So the affirmation, I am true to myself, I think is a way of saying this is a time or the season to be more authentically you. And what would that look like? You being authentically you. So that's for Taurus. Next we have Gemini. I love this for Gemini. I am knowledgeable, right? Because Geminis are an air sign, so I just love this, right? Okay, so for Geminis, going with the image, we have a man reading a book. For me, this could be, is there something you need to read up on, right? So this is a time of maybe gaining knowledge, doing some research, going to reference materials or resources, right? You're looking for a particular answer to a particular challenge or situation or experience, right? You're looking for something to help get you to the other side of that situation or experience, right? So it could just be a matter, I'm on a quest, this is what's coming to me. I'm on a quest for information, for knowledge that is best going to help me move forward. Okay, so that's the act of reading. Now, it's also a visual pun for being a reader. So this may be if you're a card reader or a reader of any kind, like an intuitive psychic reader, this might be the time for you to take up further study in that practice, right? Or that this is going to be a season where you're just really busy doing readings, right? If you're a professional. The other thing here, since I talked about study, this could be an opportunity for learning something. So this might be taking a course or, embarking on some sort of educational pursuit, right? And needing to do a lot of reading and studying along with that process. But this, for me, is usually just about the acquisition of knowledge. So that is for Gemini. Next we have for Cancer, we have this card. I am divinely supported. I love this card. So this card really is a spiritual card, and it talks about your support system. In the image, we have a woman in the air, and she's surrounded by angel feathers. So if you are an angel person, meaning that you have a belief, an interest, or that you actively participate with angelic beings, and when I say participate, meaning like you have a connection, a bond, a relationship with the angels, then this card is just a reminder for you that you are being supported by your angels at this time. This is a visual nod to the angel number 444, right? Which talks about this idea about angels being near, or that you are being surrounded by a multitude of angels. So that is the first thing. If that is too woo-woo for you, then this really is about you working with a support system of some kind at this point in your life, right? Is there an experience that you're going through or that you're having in which you need support? And if so, who could best support you? Right? The other thing I will say is, because she's in the air, this may be a time to take a look at our thoughts, right? And the angel feathers are a reminder about maybe making a shift with our thoughts from the more challenging thoughts to the more positive thoughts. How can you change your outlook, right? Taking a look at your mental atmosphere, because the angels are always offering us the possibility of a shift in our thinking, right? They tend to want to elevate our consciousness, elevate our awareness, and help us shift our thinking, right? So it could just be a matter of, again, if the angelic perspective of this card is too woo-woo for you, then it's just offering you, how would you be able to reframe your thinking, making a shift in your thinking from the more challenging thoughts to the more positive aspects of the situation. And as I'm saying that, the words that are coming to me is, how can you find the good in your current experience if it's a challenge, right? But again, this card is about getting support and creating a support system if you feel that you don't have enough support, right? And I'm being reminded that the first person in your support system should be you, right? You should be supporting yourself, right? And then other people, other like-minded people can support you, but it starts with you supporting yourself, right? And the best way you could support yourself is support yourself, in your thinking, right? So again, this is I am divinely supported for Cancer. Okay, next we have Leo. I like this. I am a loyal friend. This is a card that turned up in the last session, I believe, right? So I am a loyal friend is a nod to dog in Lenormand. So dog is all about friendship, right? And that is an aspect of Leo in a solar chart or solar wheel, right? Leo is associated with friends and friendship. So I like seeing that here. So, but this is about, could be about friendship. It could be about partnership. It could be about companionship. Those are all the things that I associate with dog in the Lenormand system, right? And it's no different here. It could also be about loyalty. So there may be issues around being fiercely loyal to those that you are in relationship to. So that could be friends, partners, associates, anybody and everybody that you feel a sense of loyalty to. So that could be, I'm focusing on being loyal. Now, it could also be that you are seeking more loyalty, from those around you as well, right? And so I'm a big believer in, sometimes in order to receive, we sometimes have to give what it is that we want to receive from other people. So if you're feeling like that is a need, are you clear on the idea that you are giving what it is that you best feel you want to receive from others, right? So there's that. Now, other aspects of this card. This may be a time where help, support, or advice is either being given, meaning you are a support, a source for those things for other people, or that you are needing help, support, and advice from others, much like the I am divinely supported card in terms of the support, right? This is about surrounding yourself with people that you can trust. So there may be issues about being trustworthy and trustworthiness this season that you need to focus on, right? So I'm trying to think what else I want to say about this card. Yeah. Okay, so the other thing I want to say about this card, it's just because it's a dog, is that sometimes this card can be about training, right? We train dogs to be obedient, right? So this could just be a matter of you participating in something in which training is required. So you could either be a trainer or you are being trained, quote unquote, in something. So that could be something having to do with work or business. It could be a modality or technique or a process that you're undergoing some process of training. So this is I am a loyal friend for Leo. Okay, so now we're moving into Leo, Virgo. I had to stop and think of the order. So now we're moving into Virgo. For Virgo people, we have I honor the commitments I make to myself and to others. So this card showed up for sure. I remember now. This card showed up the last time. And it showed up to talk about this idea about honoring the promises, the pledges, the vows that we make not only to other people, but to ourselves. And as I said in that video, that one of the lessons I learned along the way, right, back to the first card pathway, along the way is that I was really good about honoring commitments and promises that I made to other people, but not to myself. So that's why the affirmation is stated the way it's stated, right? We want to be clear on that it's just as important to acknowledge the things that you say you want to do for yourself as it is that you want to do for and with others, right? So are you keeping your promises that you make to yourself? Are you keeping the vows that you make to yourself, right? Are you honoring the commitment that you're having with yourself just as much as you are honoring the commitments that you're making with other people? Yeah? So now, as I said that last time, this is a nod to ring in Lenormand, right? So ring is a circular object, if we go with the symbolism of it, right? So again, like I said the last time, this might be an opportunity to look at cycles and patterns. Now, it could be cycles and patterns in relationships, in serious relationships, right? Or just generally speaking, like the cycles and patterns that you are experiencing again and again, right? And this is an opportunity to do some work around that, especially if it's a cycle or a pattern that you realize is no longer serving and supporting you, right? So there's that. Now, this is also a nod to state of marriage from Kipper, right? So this is just maybe taking a really good close look at serious, committed, and maybe even intimate relationships, right? And seeing where are we with that. Is it a healthy relationship? Is it something that's unhealthy and that we are needing to do some work around? Right, and even with the healthy relationships, I'm being reminded to say that they still require some level of maintenance, right? But if it's an unhealthy relationship, what are we, meaning myself and my partner or partners, willing to do to transform that, right? And that may be taking a look at the cycles and patterns of behavior that take place in those relationships and asking, what are we willing to do differently, right? And as I'm saying this, it could even be the possibility for some people that this may be a time where you're wanting to renew your vows. So there you go. That is for Virgo. Okay. So now for Libra. we have another card that showed up last time, I believe. Wonderful new doors are opening for me all the time. This is one of my favorite cards, right? Because this card talks about opportunity, right? So we're in astrological new year. This is spring, right? All those wonderful things. It's about a fresh start, clean slate, right? So you may be facing an opportunity, or because there's a number of doors on the card, a number of opportunities. And this card is really just a matter of choice, right? Much like I talked about with the first card, my pathway is now smooth. This is an opportunity to say, what is the best way for me to move forward, right? This also could be about doors opening and closing, right? So it could just be a matter of, in order for a door to open, do I need to close a door? And that's metaphorical for, do I need to end a particular situation, experience in my life so that I can move forward, right? And again, like I said the last time this card appeared, the fact that the man is wearing a business suit, business attire, could just represent, attending to either professional or personal business at hand, right? But also to, what am I well suited for at this point in my life, right? So that is wonderful new doors are opening for me all the time. That is for Libra. Okay, so next we have Scorpio. Okay, I like this card. I am always doing my best. So this is a card that talks about, are you keeping track, right? Because it's a pun for the track person on the card, the athlete. So this is, for me, it's about keeping track, right? So this could just be like questioning whether or not you're on the right track or not. This is about time and time management. Like, are you keeping the best time possible when it comes to doing what it is that you need to do? This card also for me is about, being aware of what your lane is in life, and are you staying in your lane? So it could just be a matter of, what's my lane? How can I stay in my lane? Right? That kind of thing. This card is about being mindful of competitive energy or competitive nature, and really understand, like, the only person you need to compete with is yourself, right? And this is the idea about, when I say that, this is the idea about improvement, self-improvement, right? Because I imagine, when I was curating the images, I imagine with this one is that the young man on the card is working on improving his time, right? Trying to beat his own record, right? So this is just about running your own race, right? There's nobody you need to compete with, right? Except yourself. And the only way you want to do that is in a way that's going to better you, to improve you, that kind of thing. But this may just be a time where you are really focused on what's your lane and staying in your lane. You don't have to be in somebody else's lane. It's making me feel like when I said about, the idea with I am true to myself, about authenticity, this is about you really being you, right? Staying in your own lane. You are clear on what your lane is, and you are in it, right? And now this could also be, in the challenging sense, dealing with impatience, right? Running could just be a pun for rushing, zipping along, being in a hurry to get to places and spaces, right? So this may just be a nod to maybe perhaps slow down a little bit, right? But my chief message with this card is about, finding your lane and staying in your lane. So that is for Libra. No, I'm sorry, that's for Scorpio. Then I said Scorpio, right? Scorpio. Okay. Next we have Sagittarius, I believe. Okay. I honor my feelings. So now I created this card because I have my moon in Aquarius. So, and the moon in your chart, from what I understand now, I know just a little bit about astrology to make me dangerous, right? So from what I understand, the moon is your emotional nature in your chart. And so it's about paying attention to your emotional reactions because it's associated with a particular sign. My moon is in Aquarius. So Aquarius is an air sign. So one of the things I know from my own experience of having a natal moon in Aquarius is that I can be in my head a lot, and I can be very emotionally detached, right? So I was more logical, analytical in terms of my interactions with other people. So much so that I got called Spock from Star Trek growing up. And then, of course, it shifted when the Next Generation came out. Then it was Data, right? And so not too long ago, somebody commented on that, or at least brought that energy back, because they called me Tuvok. And I think Tuvok is from Voyager, if I believe my Star Trek, if I'm right about my Star Trek. But anyway, Tuvok is another Vulcan. So I thought, oh, okay, I kind of left that. I thought I left that energy behind, but not really, right? So I had to learn that it was okay for me to feel, right? And because also too, like, emotional displays didn't make sense to me a lot of time. So I had to get to the idea, or to the place in life where it was okay for me to feel. And I think because I was a really sensitive child, because my son is in Pisces, right? I think I was a really sensitive child, and it got conditioned out of me. So I think I went the other extreme, right, and became really logical and rational and analytical as a result of being told that it was not okay for me to be sensitive as a boy, right? Okay, so I'm going somewhere with that. So this card really is just saying, like, it is okay for you to feel. It is okay for you to not just feel, but it's okay for you to feel whatever you are feeling in any given moment, right? But the only thing is that you have to be willing to take responsibility for your emotional reactions and responses, which means that no one can make you feel a certain way. You are choosing an emotional response based on a situation that is being presented to you. That is the truth, right? And I'm saying that because on some level, she has a shoulder that's bare. That means bearing some responsibility. Shoulders metaphorically represent responsibility. So it's about bearing some responsibility. Not just only bearing your feelings, but bearing some level of responsibility for how you are choosing to feel in any given moment, right? But the chief message with the affirmation is, I honor my feelings. It is okay for you to feel whatever you are feeling in any given moment. That's for Sagittarius. Okay, next we have Capricorn. Okay, another one of my favorite cards. So this card says, I listen to the divine and rejoice at all I am able to hear. So this card is really just about listening, right? So now that's really twofold. Listening to other people in our interactions, our conversations, our dialogues. Are you really listening? That's about being present. Present enough to hear what's being said. Also, too, as I close my eyes to say that part, it's also about listening to what's not being said, right? Because two things go on. We say things, but we're also not saying certain things, right? So this is an opportunity to really pay attention to what's being said, but also pay attention to what's not being said. So that expression, reading between the lines, or, addressing what's under the surface, and it could also be a nod to, not only paying attention to what's verbally being said, but what's not being said is nonverbal, right? So paying attention to body language, that kind of thing. And that's twofold. What are you saying, right? Either verbally or non-verbally. Are you getting your point across? Are you having issues where you're feeling like you're not being heard? And if that's the case, it may be a matter of you rethinking or reframing or giving it another go in terms of expression, right? It could just be, that's a nice way to say that the way you're going about it may not be working, and you may need to, try something else in order to best be heard, right? As I'm saying that too, I'm looking at the image and I'm realizing that the man has headphones on, right? So, or earbuds, so that allows us to hear certain things, but tune other things out, right? So it could just be a matter of, if you're feeling like you're being tuned out, then it just is a matter of the way you're going about it, meaning your approach. You might want to rethink that, right? And approach it from a different way in order to best be heard, right? Now, that's if you're feeling like you're not being heard, right? The other possibility here is that there's too much noise and too much distraction, and you need to find a better way to focus, right? And that's a nice way of saying tuning out the external world, right? I'm going to just tune people out. There may be certain voices you need to tune out entirely, right? Which means that people who are not positive, not supportive, if you're trying to accomplish something, right, going back to the idea of intentions and wanting to plan things, move things forward, and people are poo-pooing on that, then those are voices you need to tune out. I was supposed to say turn out. Tune out, right? Because they're not supporting you, right? Also, too, the voices that are critical in your own head, right? The ones that want to be your inner critic, right? This may be a time to look at tuning out your inner critic, right? Because the idea here, the other affirmation, or the second part is, I rejoice at all that I am able to hear, right? So you want to rejoice, and rejoice is experience joy again with what you're able to hear. So it may be a matter of taking a look at the voices, both the ones in the external world and the inner voices, and saying, is this the time that I need to tune certain voices out? So this is, I listen to the divine and rejoice at all that I'm able to hear. And as I'm saying that, I realize the divine. Okay, this reminds me about angel messages, right? So when we are receiving angelic messages or messages from spirit, they are often in a voice that is supportive, loving, caring, and nurturing. Right? So pay attention to that. If you are believing that you are receiving messages from the divine and the angels or your spirit guides, how are those messages being expressed? Meaning the actual words. Are they supportive words or are they critical words? If they're critical words, that might be your inner critic and not necessarily the divine. Okay. So that was, let me count. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we have 2 signs left. We have Aquarius and Pisces. Okay, so for Aquarius, okay. This is your card. So I persevere. And this is a nod to anchor in Lenormand, because the anchor is a symbol for hope and perseverance, right? So this may be a time where you, and I'm coming back to the idea of my pathway is now smooth, that you are realizing that you are a survivor. You have overcome a lot of personal and maybe even professional challenges, but he told me to say personal first. You may have overcome a lot of personal challenges, right? And you're still in the game, right? It reminds me of the 2 songs that Destiny's Child, Survivor, but I was hearing in the moment Elton John's I'm Still Standing, right? So that maybe that is, if you resonate with the song, that may be a mantra or a theme or your playlist theme for either the season or for the year, right? So it's just a matter of perseverance, right? Now, if you're trying to accomplish something, this may be a matter where perseverance is going to be required as well as hope, right? In Lenormand, the anchor is, or Lenormand is also known as the game of hope, but it centers on the anchor card, right? So there is that. Now, this card could also be about, working on issues regarding security and stability, right? So it could just be a matter of either I'm surrounded by people who are causing me a lot of drama, and as a result of that, I'm looking for more security and stability in my relationships with other people. It could be I'm seeking opportunities, because the anchor could also be about long-term work. So if this is related to work, working towards a greater sense of security and stability, and that could be in terms of the work itself, meaning like I need a job that's going to be somewhat secure and stable, regardless of what's going on in the world. I'm talking about like economic things, right? That they won't kind of wreak havoc in your working life, right? Create ups and downs, that kinds of things with your. It keeps it more level and even keeled, right? So, because I'm thinking the idea, and I'm not trying to say that this is where I'm going, but the words that are coming to me in my mind is like the idea of like we want to be doing work that is considered recession proof, right? Doesn't matter what's going on in the economy, we are going to be okay, right? So there's that. But it could also be about doing work in which you are offered a greater sense of security and stability, right? I mean, that could just be like in benefits, those kinds of things, right? Seeking a job or work where there's greater benefits offered to you. Now, it could also be the idea that maybe as I'm talking more and more about work and the work that we're doing, and maybe getting to a place where we realize that the idea of job security is really a fallacy and a myth, right? There's no such thing. Right? We create our own sense of security and stability within our working environments by the choices and the decisions that we make. Right? So it could just be a matter of what could you do to create, right? Creating life, right? We're in that season, right? To create a greater sense of stability and security in your life, right? And that you might need to be persistent and hopeful moving forward with that, right? Now, I will say this. If you are thinking about making a move, sometimes this card would talk about the idea about staying put. So, it's about like staying where you are, right? Anchor in, right? The anchor keeps things from moving, right? So it just be a matter of like, or that you need to give more thought and consideration to the things you need to have in place to make that move better for you as an experience, right? So that is I persevere for Aquarius. And now for the last sign, Pisces, we have I have the power to create wealth. So I created this card from a scripture in Deuteronomy that says that we have the power to create wealth. So really this card is about prosperity, abundance, taking a look at that, right? It's also about managing the money that you have because he's got money in his pocket, right? So that's a pun for the money in your pockets. What are you doing with the money that you currently have, right? Are you saving it? Are you spending it? There's no judgment about what you're doing. The idea here is to foster greater awareness about what you're doing with the abundance and the prosperity that flows in and out, right? So it could just be a matter of, do I need to hold on to more? What am I spending my money on? Here's the other thing. This is also making me think about the idea about value. When we talk about spending, right? The things that we spend money on, we are either consciously or unconsciously saying like, this is what I value, right? So this could just be a more general or more broad way of saying, taking a look at what it is that you value in your life right now. Right? And that could be in terms of material things, right? I'm saying I value this, and I value this because fill in the blank, right? Or it could be that this is an opportunity for you to take a look at your value system. And is it wrapped up in material things, right? Your sense of value and worth is coming from what you possess or what you can buy. And that may be some work you need to do around because there's a story there that may not necessarily be true. Right? So if you're wanting to work with prosperity and abundance, you could work with this affirmation, that's great, but another one that's coming to me in the moment is I am a money magnet. What are you attracting, right? And that could be in terms of money, but it could also be about abundance. Like, are you attracting a lot of stuff that's valuable or that's adding value to your life? Or are you attracting a lot of stuff, abundance, that's not bringing any value to your life, right? So this might be a matter of doing evaluation or appraisals or assessments, right? Keeping with the idea about money and all of that kind of stuff, right? But this could just be about either the actual is I'm doing some work around bringing more money in. So this could be about income, streams of revenue, those kinds of things, taking a look at what's coming in, but also being aware of what's going out. Because this card is about flow and circulation, right? Money is, the idea about money coming in and going out, that's all about circulation, right? So that's a universal law of circulation and taking a look at that. But chiefly, this card is about bringing money in and taking a look at what you're doing with the money that you currently have at your disposal, right? So this is I have the power to create wealth. And on that note, this will conclude my lightning round oracle card reading for Aries season. As I did in the previous video, I had so much fun doing this, and I hope you could tell. And I'm thinking, as I said in the opener, that this might become a regular thing because it would be another nice way for me to get back into the cycle, the cycle of doing more readings on a regular or recurring basis, right? To kind of get my feet back in the pool, so to speak. Okay, so this is James M. Mitchell. Again, thank you so much for sharing this space with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And until then, take care and enjoy this Aries season, this Aries new moon, and for those of you who are magical practitioners, enjoying this time of Ostara. Blessed be, and take care.